Oklahoma home leads to a life sentence behind bars.
I'm not sure if this makes anybody feel better about these frigid cold temps, but we don't have any negatives on the board. We'll have the latest from the Skywatch Weather Center.
And divers make a rare and magical discovery 100 feet deep off the coast of Tahiti.
The 4 states' most watched news starts now.
A judge sentences a Fairland, Oklahoma man to life in prison 3 times for killing 1 man and injuring 2 others. One of them, an Oklahoma Highway Patrol trooper. This is KOAM News at noon. I'm Tanya Bach. Topping our first 7 minutes, a life sentence for 50-year-old Edwin Ball. The incident happened in March of 2020. The OSBI and Highway Patrol say Ball shot and killed 1 man and injured another before barricading himself in a house near Grand Lake. They say he also shot a trooper in the eye who was setting up a perimeter around the house. That trooper was taken to the hospital. In November, Ball accepted a deal, pleading guilty to 3 charges: murder in the first degree, shooting with the intent to kill, and assault with a deadly weapon. The penalty for all 3 charges is life in prison with release after 35 years. Voters in the Carthage School District will have a school bond issue to decide in a few months. This week, the board approved the language for an $18 million school bond proposal to fund a new performing arts center on the high school campus. The proposal would extend the current tax levy. Voters will decide the issue April 5th. The doors are closed at Carl Junction schools for the remainder of the week. Officials say student and staff attendance has gotten so low due to COVID, they can't stay open. The district says the days missed this week will not be made up later in the year. While CJ is closed, others have opted to go virtual. However, the Columbus School District says they have not seen enough COVID spread among students to do that. They say the recent spread has been affecting staff, though, and that combined with a shortage of substitute teachers has been a challenge, and staff members who are not sick have had to fill in.
As far as our staff goes, everybody, all hands on deck. It gets pretty serious when the superintendent has to substitute, but I've had to do that, and I've enjoyed it too. But, our food service directors had to get in the kitchen and work, and, we've been short custodians, so some of them have had to pick up extra work.
The Columbus superintendent says although it's more difficult to keep normal school operations going, they'll get through this. Just like we'll get through this cold weather.
We will.
I hope. Michael Aesop joins us for the first look.
And what we're going to do is we're going to find a positive spin and put it on everything. We're going to go glass half full right now because it could be worse. Look at what happened in 1985 on the Daily Almanac. That's not even a wind chill, Tanya. It got down to 12 below zero in 1985. Now, we saw negative wind chills, but we only got down around 2 to 3 degrees. So see, we weren't even close to breaking a record low. We've got beautiful blue skies. We've got sunshine. And we've got temperatures that got up to 20 degrees. See, we're going to get through this just fine. Now, when we talk about the 20 degrees, it's not widespread because we're still as low as the teens up in the north. Starting to see some 21s out there. And like I said at the very beginning of the show, we no longer have negative wind chills. Now we've even got double digits down there in Nowata and Bonita. Everybody else really hanging about 6 to 7 degrees. It has been kind of nice in a serious note here later this morning as the wind is beginning to subside just a little bit. And also too, we stay on the dry side. All that snow that was in the panhandles this morning, we knew it was going to dip down to the southeast. So it's going to take off toward the Red River. Now we've got to wait 1 more day before we get any type of warmth, even if you want to call 30s warmth, because as we work into tonight, far right-hand side of your screen, into tomorrow morning, you'll notice that our temperatures back down to the single digits, and what that's going to result in are more negative wind chills for tomorrow. But for Friday, we will get plenty of sunshine after it rises around 7:29, begin a jaunt up to the 30s. All that rain, snow, and Cedric, that'll stay through central Kansas, won't affect us. And then we're setting up for seasonable temps on Saturday, around 44, up to the 50s here on Sunday. But before we get there, we got to prepare for 1 more day. Coming up here in just a little bit, let's break down those wind chill numbers that we expect for tonight and probably run through our safety measures once again, just in case you missed it this morning, to make sure everybody stays safe for the frigid cold.
Yeah, stay safe for sure. All right, thanks, Michael. Well, topping Nation Watch, Democrats are regrouping after they failed to advance their voting rights bill in the Senate. Skylar Henry has more details from Capitol Hill.
President Biden says he'll continue to push for voting rights, even though the legislation failed in the Senate Wednesday night. He said, "I'm profoundly disappointed that the United States Senate has failed to stand up for our democracy. I'm disappointed, but I'm not deterred."
The yeas are 52, the nays are 48.
The bill failed after Democratic Senators Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin refused to sign off on changes to the filibuster rule, which requires 60 votes for legislation to proceed.
The United States Senate has never in 233 years been able to end debate on legislation with a simple majority vote.
Frustration over their actions has prompted some progressives to call for Democrats to target the senators in primary elections, but Senate leadership shot down that suggestion.
I think that's very short-sighted, and I don't want to engage in that conversation. I'm disappointed in the positions they took, but it was entirely within their right to do it. In a 50-50 Senate, we value every member.
Democrats now have to regroup and figure out another way to protect the voting rights of all Americans who are eligible to vote.
Our goal was to remove obstacles of participation. Instead of what the Republicans are doing is to put up obstacles of participation. So the fight for voting rights continues. We will not relent. The fight goes on.
But Republicans remain steadfastly opposed to federal changes to election laws.
This is not a problem. Turnout is up, biggest turnout since 1900. It's simply they're being sold a bill of goods.
Democrats may now try to break up the voting rights legislation into separate bills and pass it piece by piece. Skylar Henry, CBS News, Capitol Hill.
Senators Manchin and Sinema both emphasize they support the voting rights legislation, but believe more work should be done to make it bipartisan in order to win the 60 votes needed. That's a look at today's top stories and weather in our first 7 minutes. Up next on KOAM News at noon, we take you out to sea near the coast of Tahiti to check out a very rare underwater discovery. And later, we're making balsamic pork chops in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen. Scientists have made a spectacular discovery deep in the ocean off the coast of Tahiti, a pristine coral reef that remains untouched by climate change. CBS's Ian Lee gives us a closer look.
Diving beneath the deep blue reveals a sea of color, a magical mountain of coral stretching for almost 2 miles, hidden until now.
It's basically a field of huge flowers, coral garden in a way. Some of them looks like roses.
Some of those rose-shaped corals off the coast of Tahiti span 6 feet. But this reef isn't like others around the world. For one, it's a lot deeper, between 100 to 200 feet below the waves.
It's quite impressive to find such system in a very good state of health at that sort of depth.
And while most coral is damaged by overfishing, pollution, and climate change, remarkably, scientists say this floral forest seems untouched.
You're not looking at a reef that's recovered just in a few years. I think it has managed to dodge the bullet.
Ocean experts now want to learn the secrets of the coral's resilience.
That gives us hope that there might be other ecosystems that we have not found in the ocean, particularly this type of coral reef at this kind of depth.
And with so much of the world's waters waiting to be explored, who knows what else divers could discover in the deep. Ian Lee, CBS News.
Well, scientists report more than 14% of the world's coral reefs have died since 2009. Still to come on the KOAM News at noon, Mr. Food.
Pork chops, so good, I have a feeling you'll be licking your plate clean. And the best part, it takes less than 15 minutes to make from start to finish.
But first, Michael Hayslip returns with your complete forecast.
We just about made it 1 calendar year without having temperatures as low as what we experienced last night into this morning, and we'll have a repeat performance. But if you go back to February 19th of 2021, we actually bottomed out at 2 degrees, and that was an interesting week for those of you that may or may not remember it, but we actually rolled from February the 12th all the way to February the 19th with overnight lows that range from anywhere from 15 below zero. And during that time, the highest we saw was only 9 above zero. That's right, from the 12th to the 19th back of last year. So all of a sudden, maybe that 19, nothing to scoff at right now over 7th and Range Line. North wind coming in at 15 miles per hour. But hey, we've come a long way from the single digits that we were at this morning, working up into the high teens, if not low 20s. The north wind, it's still causing quite a bit of a wind chill out there, and so here's what it feels like at the noon hour. Still struggling to get to double digits. Huge temperature change. And you know, the real amazing thing about this cold front is while it was hanging over us, presenting a 30-degree difference just during the morning hours, look at how far this thing has penetrated. Remember, this came off the Canadian border not but 36 hours ago, and now we're seeing it press all the way down to the Gulf Coast states. As far as our changes go in particular, starting to normalize a little bit. We had a 30-degree difference this morning. Now we're sitting about from 10 to 15 degrees cooler for the noon hour. Now, should have jumped into this yesterday. We hit it this morning, but for those of you that are even going to be out for the afternoon and especially evening, nighttime hours, we need to concentrate on our character there on the far right because this is considered extreme cold. While we don't have any advisories, watches, or warnings associated with our wind chills, best to be on the safe side, especially with the kiddos. 3+ layers up top, 2 pair of pants. We don't need to worry about the waterproof boots. That is one of the nice things because our humidity so low, this air mass is actually turning out to be very, very dry for us as it hangs over. But of course, you're also going to want to make sure if you have a scarf or a mask, kids are used to it these days just about, huh? Let's make sure that they have something covering their face. No worries on the Skywatch Storm Tracker, little cloud cover sitting down to our south. Now, as we look at the national perspective, I want to point out what's developing here over the East Coast because you got everything from thunderstorm activity down throughout Alabama and Georgia up to snow on the far northeastern portion of the United States. So what we'll do is we'll put on the old Skywatch Storm Tracker sky coverage, and then we're going to duck down underneath it. And here's the problem that this is posing. We've heard about this 5G rollout. Well, Mother Nature is now delaying, if not canceling, some flights because of the 5G rollout. Now, here's the problem specifically. That 5G frequency that it uses is oh so close to a plane's altimeter. So when you've got poor visibility, like what you're seeing all along the East Coast right now, the FAA simply saying because 5G is just now rolling out, it's close to your altimeter, you may not know how far you are above the ground when you're coming into land. So we do have weather delays, especially when you look at places like DC and New York City. Look at that. That's more than a quarter of the flights coming out of New York City right now, whether it be LaGuardia or JFK, that have been delayed and or canceled. So Mother Nature will help out here by the end of the week. But yeah, everything you've heard about that 5G, remember the weather plays a factor in that as well. We'll go low 20s later on today, but more importantly, the reason I wanted to hit that cold weather safety graphic is because we are going to rinse and repeat for tonight into tomorrow morning. So there we go. Tomorrow morning, that's probably where we'll bottom out. You notice that's around the 7 o'clock hour. Go up some -7s, if not -8s. We saw some 8 belows wind chill wise this morning, and that's about where we're going to top out as far as what our wind chill is for tomorrow, up into the low 20s. Our temperature will actually get in the 30s, but our wind chill will stay in the 20s. Now, speaking of that East Coast storm, by the time Friday is over, the FAA and the airports, they can figure that out because it'll really just be the mid-Atlantic that'll kind of be isolated with the winter weather. And for us, while they can deal with the winter weather and 5G problems, we're going to enjoy a Saturday with seasonable temps in the 40s. And then, Tanya, we deserve this. A Sunday where we're going to throw up some 50s and we won't have to worry about wind chills anymore.
I'm not complaining about that at all. 50s after this morning and tonight.
You know, you think about it, you get all your stuff done Saturday evening into Sunday morning, sit back, kick it, and you watch the Chiefs game and not have to worry about huddling up in 18 layers and an electric blanket.
There you go. I'll still prefer to watch it indoors, but it'll be great. All right, thanks, Michael. We take this time to honor today's four-state hero, Staff Sergeant Jimmy Verone in the U.S. Army. Soldier hails from Arma, Kansas. He served during World War II. To Staff Sergeant Jimmy Verone, we thank you, our four-state hero. Looking for a one-pan wonder to help you get dinner on the table in a hurry? Look no further. Today, Howard shows us how to make balsamic glazed pork chops in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen.
When it comes to getting dinner on the table night after night, it gets pretty challenging to come up with new, fresh ideas. Well, no worries, because I have a quick throw-together one-pan wonder that'll do just that. We start by sprinkling a few thick-cut pork chops with lemon pepper seasoning. These get sautéed in a heavy skillet until they're nicely browned on both sides, which takes just minutes. Once they're cooked just the way you like them, take them out and add some balsamic vinegar, chicken broth, and a bit of brown sugar right to the skillet. Let it simmer until it starts to reduce slightly and thicken up. Then, come dinner time, spoon the sweet and tangy glaze over the chops and call the troops to the table. And since it was all cooked in one pan, cleanup is a breeze. To get the recipe for our juicy and flavorful balsamic pork chops, all you need to do is visit our website. I'm Howard in the Mr. Food Test Kitchen, where today we found a fun change of pace way for you to say, ooh, it's so good.
You can find this recipe along with a lot more good food from the Mr. Food Test Kitchen online. Just go to our website at KOAMnewsnow.com. Here's a look at our 4-state market prices.
Let's make sure we plan appropriately if we're going to be out tonight or, of course, tomorrow morning as well. Wind chills dropping back down to the negatives. And even tomorrow afternoon, we're only going to see highs up into the 30s. 2 more days, but then as we get to the weekend, 44 and 51 on Saturday and Sunday. Tanya, a couple weeks ago, you and I were joking around. It happened to me earlier this morning. I had a 6-pack of Coke in my truck. I got it yesterday. I went to go get one before the noon show. It's a brick.
Yeah.
Yeah, not going to happen.
Good thing it didn't explode. That's what I thought you were going to say.
She warned me to.
Yeah.
What do we have coming up tonight at 5?
Well, at 5, this recent race in Las Vegas featured Indy-style cars, but there were no race car drivers. The fully autonomous vehicles made their own decisions, like when to pass. We're going to look at how self-driving cars are closer than ever before. Plus, local schools continue to deal with high numbers of staff and students calling out sick, but how does that affect school nurses? We speak with the Anderson School nurse about how this pandemic can be challenging, and Webb City leaders gather to update residents to what's happening in the city this year. Hope you join us at 5.
All right, thank you, Dow. Thanks for joining us for KOAM News at noon. We'll see you right back here at 5 o'clock.